Now, in this section, we're going to be taking you through many of the most common retrofit installation techniques, and we're going to be using our almost a two-story house set. Since we couldn't find a studio with a 28-foot ceiling, we had to literally split the house in half. Now, this half on this side represents the basement or crawl space, and this is the first floor, and we've got part of the second floor up there, which has sort of been cut off by the giant weed whacker. Now, we have the external wall of the house in the back, and this represents an internal non-load-bearing wall. Now, the set represents typical platform construction techniques, but we've taken a few liberties with the construction and framing so you can see everything associated with a typical retrofit wiring job.
And this half is part of the first floor down here. You can see we've kind of taken a piece of the first floor and brought it up. Then we come up to the second floor, and then, of course, if you look way up here, we've got a section of the attic that we have up here. Now, when we do installation that requires going between floors, we'll be going back and forth between these two sets. Now, the techniques we chose to demonstrate are typical of retrofit installations that will include security wire, communications wire, such as our Cat5 and coax, and wiring for in-wall speakers.
Now, the first procedure we're going to show you is relatively simple. We're going to work for simple ones to harder ones. And the job is to get a cable from the basement or crawl space to a first floor outlet. Now, we're going to assume in all of our installations in this house that we're working from a central distribution location up into an attic space, across an attic, and then down, or from that central distribution across the crawl space or basement and then up the walls, in most cases. So our choice here, well, the task we've got to accomplish here is to get the cable from the basement and crawl space where Mike is up to this outlet. Now, I've got two choices. I can either drill down from above or he could drill up. In either case, let me show you the situation here a little clearer. We're trying to get the drill either up or into this cavity space between the foundation sill and the first floor. Now, if I drill from above, what I've got to do is angle the drill or make sure the drill is near the inside of the wall space so I miss this plate. If Mike was drilling up from below, same problem. But since this is such a tight space, even for a right angle drill, I chose to drill down from above. Now, the second issue is the size of the hole. Since Mike is pulling up a bundled communication cable, we need to put in a 1-inch hole. So I've attached a 1-inch bit to a drill extension, and I'm going to feed it into the wall and drill down from here. So let me do that. Now, I've used a 6-foot extension. A 4-foot would have done just fine. We take the drill and feed it into the cavity. Then I'm going to use my drill guide to guide the drill near the front of the wall opening. Okay, we made it through. Remove the drill. And use the drill motor, twisting it occasionally, short burst, to help the drills in and out of these holes. Okay, now I'm going to feed down a pull cord, and I've attached it to the end of a push rod. Now, since the hole is large and right below my opening near the front of the wall, even a blind man can find this hole easily. There we go. Now it's down into the crawl space. Okay, Mike, you ought to find it if I've got the push rod down. And Mike grabs it.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is he's got this on a little piece of tape. I'm just going to pull it loose. And what I'll do is I'll just shove back up the rod so he can pull that on out, because I don't need that. If you notice here on this big communication cable, I've already put my pull sleeve on here. So all I have to do, I'm ready to go, is put this right through there and tie a little knot in it. There we go. And I'm just going to tie a little knot here. I'll tie another one to hold it. And that's really all I got to do. Now I'm going to I'm going to tug on that a little bit to let Grayson know that I'm ready. And then I'll just kind of ease that up there to guide it, and he should have it.
No problem, comes right through. Now to remove these pull sleeves, it's easy. You just push the pull sleeve in the opposite direction, comes right off. We're ready to go to our next one. Now we're going to show you a slightly different procedure in this heavily insulated wall. Again, I need to get a Cat5 communication up to this outlet. I'm going to drill down on one of these corners, and Mike's then going to feed the cable up from below. So my job is to get the drill into the corner. With minimum damage to the insulation and not getting it tied up into the insulation, and then drill through the hole. Now what I've set up down here with is got a very small spring steel fish tape. It's only about 10 feet long, and I put a wet noodle on the end of this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I've also measured out about the length I think it'll be to get up to where he is at that outlet. So I'm going to take a pretty good estimation here. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm pushing it. I'm going to push it through the hole, but I'm going to try to push it toward the front of the wall, or the back side of the wall. That way it'll hopefully make it easier for him to find that wet noodle with the magnetic tape, or the magnetic pull. So there we go. All right, Grayson, why don't you try to see if you can catch that wet noodle up there? Okay, I'm going to use this magnetic retriever, and since I know he's pushed it up on this side near the front, I'm just going to slide this in, pushing the insulation back. I think I feel it. Oh, try it again. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Got it, Mike. I'm going to pull it up. You can attach the cable. And I can just easily pull the fish tape out. By using the common reference point from below and above, the corner, I knew exactly where to use the magnetic retriever to find the wet noodle. Now we're going to show you a couple of simple procedures for getting security sensors in the window frame here. Now again, I've got to get my security wire up from below into the frame. So all I've chosen to do is use one of the auger bits on this, the bell hanger auger bits. Now I've chosen a bit to make this procedure simple that has a hole in the end of it. Now I'm going to just drill right down from the window frame into the basement, and Mike's going to attach the security wire directly to the drill. But there's one thing I've got to be careful about when just blindly drilling down into the crawl space or the basement, and that is I don't know where those joists are, the floor joists in the basement, and I could accidentally just drill down into one and just keep drilling all the way to Cincinnati. So to make sure I don't do that, I've gone ahead and put a piece of tape on the drill, which is the length of the from the floor up, and I should get through the floor quickly. Now, if this tape disappears and I'm still drilling, I'm in trouble. I'll pull back, find another spot, and drill down. So let's start the drill in the hole. Now, I've pre-drilled some small holes to make this thing go a little quicker for us. When I get it into the wall cavity, again, I want to keep it near the front of the wall, find a spot, start my drilling, and go down. I just unattach the wire, and we'll leave it here for the security sensor. When the security sensor needs to be in the side of the window, I drill into the adjoining wall cavity and mark the location for Mike so he can drill into the space from below. He then uses a rod with a short ball chain on the end that I can easily grab with a magnetic retriever. The rest is routine. He pulls the pull cord down, and I pull the security wire back up.
Well, Grace and I are here on the second floor, and our object is we want to get a Cat 5 and a coax from the attic down into this outlet hole. Now here's what we know. We've got insulation in the wall. We're working with that. The next thing we know up here, Grayson, is that going into this attic,
Sure.
we're into that little spot where the roof line comes down to the eave of the house. Very hard to get into.
Awkward to get to. So are we going to drill up or drill down?
Well, we need to drill up because it'd be almost impossible to get a drill to come down.
Thanks, because I'm the guy that's going to be in the attic doing this, and that'll make my job a heck of a lot easier. I don't have to work my head out here to the corner.
Okay. And then what we'll do is when we get the hole drilled, we'll feed one of these fiberglass rods up and pull the cable.
And I'll just snag it.
Okay.
This
now,
is the theory.
one other thing that we need to find out about the wall is do a little exploratory. We used our fiberglass rod earlier to discover that we had a fire block in this wall. Now we need to pick the drill bit. We know from measuring on that fiberglass rod about where that fire block is, and we kind of made a little mark there for ourselves. So on that basis, I'm looking here with a 2-foot drill and a 4-foot extension, a little easier to work with, but our problem is we're only going to get this far in the wall.
Right.
That means we'd have to pull it back out and put another extension on that thing. So that's kind of difficult. So we chose to go ahead and get a 6-foot extension. Now there's one other thing that we're going to do here. We're also going to measure to know when we're probably going to clear that top header up there, Grayson.
Right. Because if we drill accidentally keep going through, one of two things will happen. We'll either go into outer space or we'll be in a roof, one of the attic joists, in which case, either case, we want to stop.
That's right. All right, so why don't you mark that sort of toward the bottom to compensate for the sheetrock up here.
So
All
the
right.
piece of tape says if that tape disappears into the hole, we're in trouble. We need to back out and try the other corner.
Okay, now if Grayson, you'll put the drill on the end of that.
All right?
I'll start looking to get us in the hole here. Now, the reason I want to go ahead and put this in the hole now is that I've got to get this up, and I'm going to choose a corner here. The reason I choose a corner is that allows me, now I'm having it sticking on me.
Okay, well, let
So
me
what
give you
can
a
I do?
hand here. Now, we're going to just give it some short bursts in
There we
reverse.
go. Look at there. Now,
Remember-
he puts that in reverse, right?
Right. We'll use the walking ability of these twist drills.
That's right. Now, I chose to get over into a corner, Grayson, because
Right.
that way when I get ready to feed my fiberglass rod, I can find it rather than just being anywhere in that wall.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
one other thing, Grayson, I'm going to give it a good shove. As you can see through our x-ray wall here,
Right.
I want to get that thing as vertical up as I can. That way I get a really straight drill up, don't I?
Parallel to the wall again so we don't hit daylight prematurely.
Okay,
Let's give it a shot.
let her go. Okay, Grayson, we got through the first part.
All right.
Alright, I think we got it, Grayson. Up the wall here. Just find my spot. I believe I've gone through. Hopefully I can get to my hole. Just have to work it a little bit. Grayson, I think I've gotten it up to the top. Can you see the tip yet?
Okay, I see it, Mike.
Okay, Mike, pull it back down. Okay, there we are. And we've got our cable from the attic down.
This technique is so common it's worth demonstrating again. Don't forget to mark the shaft with tape. It's a one-person job when you get the hang of handling 8 feet of shaft with the drill on the end. First, with the drill in reverse, go right for the back corner. Walk the drill up to the cross brace, pushing the shaft to force the bit flat against the wall before you start drilling. Notice the shaft is slipping in my drill chuck. This is a common problem for me anyway. Once through, the bend on the shaft will keep the bit in the corner. It's easy to get the drill out if you just give it short bursts in reverse. The point of the previous exercise is to get a pull cord into the attic. Loop the cord through 8 feet of fiberglass rod. Make sure there's enough slack in the loop to allow either side of the cord to be pulled. And then push the rod in the same corner you previously drilled. The rod will follow the drill path. Pushing the rod hard enough against the roof will sometimes bend the rod over, forming a nice gap between the cord and the pole to allow easy retrieval. The only difference when there's insulation is that you need to push the bit through the insulation using short jabs to the back corner and up as much as you can without running the drill. Once in the corner, the drill bit will work its way up without getting tangled. Drilling up an inside wall is much easier. Here, Mike uses an auger bit with a hole in the end. In the attic, I attach the pull sleeve directly to the bit with a small, stiff wire.
Okay, take her back down.
When Mike pulls the drill back down, he gets the cable with it. In situations where you can't drill directly up or down from an outlet location, it may be possible to go horizontally from the outlet to a wall cavity where you can reach. Here, Mike drills horizontally over through 2 wall studs. He measures the distance to the wall cavity and attaches the magnetic retriever to the end of a fiberglass rod and marks the distance on the rod so he'll know how far he has to feed it. With a steady hand and a little patience, Mike manages to get the retriever into the target wall cavity. Meanwhile, I drill down from above and drop a ball chain into the wall cavity. I wiggle the chain in the cavity so that it'll hit and stick to the retriever. Mike carefully pulls it out so he won't lose the chain. It's then a simple task for me to retrieve the nylon pull cord, attach the cable, and get Mike to pull it back to the outlet. Okay, I've got a relatively simple procedure here, and Mike and I got to change places for a change. All I'm going to do is I need to get a security sensor at the top of this window on the 2nd floor into the attic. Very simple. I'm going to use this bell hanger bit I'm going to drill up into the window frame, into the attic. Now, I've got to remember to mark my drill from the distance from the top of the sheetrock to the top of the windowsill. If I go any further than this, I'm in trouble. I'm going to see daylight. When I get the whole drill, I'm going to pass a pull cord up for Mike. Okay, I'm through. Let's see if I can do this quickly. I should be able to go straight up. Hey, not bad. Notice I give the rod enough of a push against the roof to bend it over, forming a gap so the wire is easy to retrieve with a J-hook. Now, our next task is to find a common vertical chase so we could get wires between the basement through the first and second floors into the attic. Now, that's so we can have wires from the basement work their way up into the attic to the second floor and vice versa. Now, in order to do that, our first task is to find a common interior wall. Now, we want to use an interior wall for a couple of reasons. One is we know they're not insulated. That makes our life easier. And secondly, we can get away from the edges of the house, so we've got some space in the attic or crawl space to work with. Now, so our first task is to locate a common wall.
And I just made a measurement, and that proves out that the wall we measured upstairs and down here, same distance, so I think we got it.
So we think we've got a common wall both on the first and second floor. Now, our second task, therefore, is to find a common wall cavity. Now, I know because we made this hole earlier that we've got a wall cavity right here. And this thing is approximately, it's centered about 59 inches in from the common exterior wall.
So what we're going to do is Grayson's going to go up there and try to find a similar cavity, mark a stud up there. I'm going to check the studs here so I know where exactly our cavity is. He's going to do the same upstairs, but put me a little drill, one of those wire drill bits right down through here so I can find out how those studs line up. We can't be sure that they do.
Right.
We'll also know that our walls are exactly lined up too when we do that.
Exactly. So let's get started. I'll
Let's
go try to find this similar cavity in the second floor, and when I find it, I'll mark the studs and drill down for you.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead, and when I track the stud, there we go, and all I'll do is I'd put right on the sheetrock a little piece of tape, and then I'll look for my wire bit.
Now, I measured over the same distance in the common wall on the second floor as on the first floor, and this puts our desired wall cavity somewhere right in this area. So my first task is to use my stud finder and measure to try to locate where the cavity is. So I've got one right here. I'll mark. And a good indication there. Now, this cavity for my measurement is a little, I think it's a little offset from the one on the first floor, but we need to find out where that offset is. Now, I'm going to use a wire bit to drill through the floor down into the sheetrock of the first floor ceiling, and this will accomplish two things with one bit. One, it'll make sure that the offset on the walls are the same, so we in fact do have a common wall, not offset this way, which would really screw us up. And we can find the offsets of the cavities by using one of the studs as a reference. Looks like I'm through. And we'll go down on the first floor and see if I didn't hit anything too bad. So Mike, I measured out about 3 inches out from the wall upstairs. How do we do down here?
That's exactly what I got here. That tells me these walls are lined up top to bottom, so
Great.
that part's good.
All right, so we've got no offset this direction. So how are we doing on our wall cavities?
Okay, our stud, you know, we had our mark here from our stud finder.
Yeah, we're off here a little bit.
About, looks like about 3 inches. So what I do, I just double it, Grayson.
Sure. So if I measure 6 inches over above, that'll put us about 3 inches in from this stud.
Exactly.
So we'll use 6 inches from that wire as a common reference all the way down.
Right. Now I'm going to use that same 3 inches because on the on the crawl space down here, I'm going to drill up.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I have me a mark with my stud finder here from before. So I'm going to go over right about 3 inches.
And drill down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to drill right beside that baseboard.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to do the same thing on the ceiling in the second floor.
All right.
See ya. Once we have everything measured, it's time to drill the holes. I'm going to drill down from the attic, and Mike's going to drill up from the crawl space. Once I've got the first hole through the top plate, I carefully pass an extension down the wall to drill through the bottom plate of the second floor. I've got to keep the bits centered on the